Hello everyone, Hussein is here from HDM Electrical. The lockdown gave me opportunity to send another video which hopefully helps you to have more knowledge about your electrical appliances in your property. Today I'm gonna talk about smoke alarms. You definitely have at least one smoke alarm in your property, whether it's a unit, townhouse, house. You have at least one, and today I'm gonna explain to you the major things about smoke alarms. Based on the property that you have and also the age of the property, you may see one of those four smoke alarms which you see in here. I'll try to show you different types. They are the old one. Most recent one from the major manufacturers looks better. Obviously it has not been decolored because they are pretty new. So if that's the case with you, you don't need to be worried about. But in this video I try to explain as much as possible, which is gonna be helpful for you in the future if you know this stuff, so you're gonna avoid any risk of not knowing it or put yourself in danger, or in terms of when it comes to the insurance, you do not do something which is gonna put your claim in danger or risk. Okay, these four that you see in here, which they are all expired, they are hardwire. Most likely more than 99% of the houses have the hardwire one, and which is recommended, and I tell you in a moment why. The hardwire one, as you see at the back, they have two sources of supply. One of them is the electricity from your switchboard, which is work with the 240, and the other one is a slot in here which you can put the battery. The battery, when it comes to the hardwire one, works as a backup. That means if you have a blackout in your area, your smoke alarm automatically start using the battery and is still working perfectly in order to give you alarm if there is a smoke or the fire. So saying that, hardwire one always use the battery as a backup, and the actual electricity of the house, which is 240, for the normal supply. And that's the case with pretty much all the smoke alarms hardwire one, whether it's European design or Australian design. I actually cross the brand for a purpose, because I'm not here to advertise or marketing any special brands. I'll just give you some examples. So as you see, they have a slot for a backup battery, which is 9 volt, and also the pin for the hardware. Again, the same in here. The battery is gonna sit in this area, which is covered with the lid, and again like that. That's the same with this design as well. All these two which I showed you also have something like this, which is mounted on the ceiling, and then when you put the battery, or you want to replace the battery, or you want to take off the battery, you flip the switch down, and then you change the battery and you put it back on, and it sits like this on the ceiling. Okay, so when the hardwire one has a two kind of light in the front, like this, again two lights, again two lights. One of them is gonna stay on as long as there is no blackout in your property and the smoke alarm is connected to the power. When is that the case? That means the light stays green. The green means the power is from the electricity board is connected to the alarm and is working fine. The other one, which is start flickering, is gonna be red, and that means there is something wrong with the unit, whether it's a battery, whether it's a fault, whether it's an alarm, whether it's a going off or whatever. So that's something you need to consider. But generally speaking, if the smoke alarm is powered by your normal power from your switchboard, this light should be on 24/7. So if you have a smoke alarm hardwire in your house and you don't see any green light whatsoever, there is a two possibility: whether the smoke alarm is completely dead or the power to the smoke alarm has been cut off. Okay, so that means that the smoke alarm is not working at all. No matter how you feel about it, it's not working if the light is not on. Okay, the second problem, or the wrong assumption that the people have in their property, is that as long as they change the battery backup every 12 months or so, they are good to go for the life of the house, which is not correct. In fact, it's absolutely wrong. Every smoke alarm, whether it's a hardwire or not, has a lifespan of 10 years from the date of installation, saying that if the manufacturing year is within a year or so of the installation, you can rely on that and add 10 years to find out whether the smoke alarm is expired or not. But if it doesn't, for example, if the manufacturing date is about 2015, you have to consider that by the time of 2025 is the time to replace the whole smoke alarm. And by saying that, since it's the hardwire, everything about it has to be completely removed and replaced, and that has to be done by electrician. Okay. Although the regulation, as you go to firenewsouthwales.gov.au, clearly says that you have to replace the smoke alarm within 10 years, in order to have a good indication for household owner to know when they have to change a smoke alarm, majority of them, perhaps more than 95% of the smoke alarm manufacturers, especially the most recent one, have the label whether outside of the unit or inside of the unit, saying when it has to be replaced. I have marked that label in different smoke alarms, which I'll show you later. For example, in here it says replace detected by year 2016, which I marked in here. And if you look at the date of manufacturing, it's actually January 2006, which is equally 10 years from the date of manufacturing. Again, if I go on this one, it says replace detected by year 2015. And if you say to date code, it says April 2005. Again, on this one, which is pretty old and doesn't have the label for the time of replacement, it still has the label for the date of manufacturing, which is 98. That means this was supposed to be replaced in 2008. But since the household owner didn't know about it and they have a wrong impression that since it's a smoke alarm hardwire, they can stay forever, which is not true. That's why they ignored it. And when I changed for them last year, they were quite surprised when I told them, you know what, if this doesn't do anything good for you, not only it gives you a false alarm, it might not give you a proper alarm when it has to, it also gives you and makes you liable if something, God forbid, happened for your property and you want to claim for insurance, because that's your obligation to follow the rules. And again, that's the same with this one. As you see, replace detector, replace alarm by year 2016. So pretty much, no matter whether it's a hardwire or is a battery converter like this one, there is a maximum 10 years lifespan for every smoke alarm in your house. So, saying that, now we're gonna move to the smoke alarm battery operated one. Again, you see here, which I just marked around it, that replaced by end December 2030. That's pretty new one, which I had it in my stock for a long time, for a year or something. That's a battery operated only. As you see, the only option it has is pretty smaller compared to this one. It's pretty smaller, and the reason is because it doesn't have to work with the 240, it just has to work with the battery. And that means if the battery inside this one gets flat, the smoke alarm doesn't do anything for you. This battery is not work as a backup. Again, I mentioned that is not working as a backup, that's the only source of electricity to energize the smoke alarm. The reason I emphasize on that one is that yes, that's a good additional for the safety of your house, as long as your house meet the requirement of the fire safety regulation by having minimum number of the hardwire one. For example, in a house, depends on the size of the house and the arrangement and the the design of it, you should have at least one hardwire in the house. And if you want to have additional, for example in your bedrooms or something, you can use those one. But never ever think that it's okay to just have those one everywhere and not a hardwire of this type in the entire house. Why is that? As I said, the hardwire has two sources of power to actually supply the smoke alarm in different situations. Unlike that, the battery operated has just one. So saying that if you have a blackout on this one, this one is still work with the battery, or if the battery goes flat, still it works perfectly with the electricity of the house. But when you have one source of power and that sort of source of power is gone, which is very common, you are actually pretty much in huge risk, because you are not going to get notified, and you get notified which is pretty late. So always stick to the hardwire one. Keep that in mind. When it comes to the cost, you have to replace the whole unit every 10 years, which is nothing. The cost of replacing a smoke alarm hardwire one is probably about $150 roughly, to replace it every 10 years, which is nothing. Consider all the advantages that it brings to your house and your safety. You can use those one additionally for bedrooms or something, which as long as you have this hardwire one in a proper place in the house, you don't need even that one. In case your house or the place that you want to have a smoke alarm is pretty hard to run the wire and install the hardwire one, you can have one of those and install it there, like a garage or some areas that they have a concrete ceiling and they cannot run the wire or something like that. That still is better than nothing. Okay, but always stick to the hardwire one. Never get fooled by the comment that they say that, you know what, the battery operated one is a DIY, it's better, it doesn't cost you anything, you can do it yourself. That sounds good from customer point of view, which they wanna not to spend money, but believe me, they are not even remotely as close as good they're supposed to be compared to this one. So there is a huge difference between these two. Something else you need to remember, there is a rule of thumb saying that every 12 months you need to change a battery of the smoke alarm. It doesn't mean that you have to. Usually there is especially when it comes to the hardwire smoke alarm, it depends how many times your alarm goes off and how many times the alarm need to use the battery. But technically the battery lasts more than 12 months, especially the good batteries last more than 12 months. But in order not to get the alarm in the middle of the night and wake you up, they say that the best rule of thumb is that you replace the battery no matter what every 12 months, so you always know that is never go out of the backup situation. And replacing the battery is pretty easy. You don't need the electrician, you can do it yourself. It's completely DIY and it's very cheap. Even you can get it 3 battery for less than $10, 3 battery for less than $10, or even one of them less than $5 or $4, a good one from the Bunnings, and you can replace it yourself. Okay, make sure when it comes to installing the battery, make sure you follow the polarity as is mentioned on the battery. If you put the wrong polarity, you receive the false alarm and beeping, just like that you haven't installed the battery, and that's because you put the wrong polarity. Okay, so as you see, the big pin is negative, the small one is positive, so the same is gonna be on the battery is pretty easy to realize and understand that. So you can just put it in, put it back up, and you're good to go. Remember, whenever you change the battery, remember to check the date of the replacement for the unit, because that's something people whether don't know or they keep ignore it. And that's something you not hear a lot. And if you want more information, you can simply log on to firenewsouthwales.gov.au. You can have this information as well. But for your own sake and your family and your house and your property or whatever belonging that you have that you want to keep it safe, make sure your smoke alarms up to date, battery is up to date, and is functional completely. Hope you have learned good stuff from the information that I have provided. Feel free to shoot me a comment or something if you have any question in that regard, and I will be more than happy to reply you back. Have a great day.